to Argentina for the MX2 Grand Prix of Patagonia, Argentina, for the second race of the afternoon in the 250cc category. Jeffrey Herlings, without spoiling too much information for you, if you're only just joining us for the first time, failed to finish in race 1, and as a result has now lost his championship lead and his hope of any kind of perfect score. Just looking out of my commentary position now, I've seen him go by, and we'll be talking to him in just a few moments' time.
Para toda la Argentina y el mundo. Ahí está el Jeffrey Herlings, el holandés, buscando revancha.
The Andes Mountains then, a great backdrop here at the circuit of Patagonia racetrack, just outside the city of La Villa Angostura. The circuit very bumpy now after two races, hard-fought races in MX2 and MXGP earlier on this afternoon. We've got a good crowd in here as well, making a lot of noise out there underneath the trees. And if you are just joining us for the first time, welcome. That's a quick look at the circuit. It's about 85 meters from the center of the start gate into the first turn, which is a nice banked wide sweeping corner, the left-hander, that opens up into a equally impressive right-hand sweep that is very, very choppy, or it was after the first two races. Just be interesting to see whether any work has gone on that part of the racetrack. I hope not personally, and I'm guessing the riders don't as well, because while they all like the track, they did say yesterday that it was a very, very fast racetrack indeed and couldn't wait for it to chop up. So if that's the case, then we will be able to determine that, and these guys here, well, it'll just entertain them even more. But if you didn't see the first race, obviously no need to worry. Here's what happened in MX2 race 1 a little earlier on today. Here's some highlights for you. Well, the gate dropped. It wasn't a great jump for Jeffrey Herlings. A little bit of wheel spin on his Red Bull KTM. There's Jeremy Seewer on the Rockstar NEG Suzuki Europe machine. Sped into the lead, but it wasn't long before he was pushed back. Sterry led briefly, but then Herlings crashed over the tabletop and was out of the race. Dylan Ferrandis then took over the lead. Behind him was the 41 of Paul's Jonas, with Julian Lieber there, 33 in third, and Max Anstey, the 99, in fourth, who put a hard pass on the young Belgian rider to get himself up into third place. Behind them was the 91 of Seewer and the 811 of Adam Sterry, who eventually dropped back. That was the pass on Lieber from Anstey. Sterry would eventually find himself down in 11th by the time the checkered flag fell, but all eyes were on this tense battle at the start, at the front of the field, between Jonas and Ferrandis, who'd got back into contention after being passed for 3 laps by the young Latvian. A mistake there forced him wide, but then he returned the favour, pushing Dylan Ferrandis wide coming out of this next right-hand turn. But that only set him up for the perfect pass a couple of corners later, and from there Ferrandis was never headed and went on to open up a considerable margin. Thomas Covington, his teammate at Monster Energy Kawasaki, was having a great ride. He was on the back of the 92 of Valentin Guillot. They were battling over 7th position at that stage of the race. Meanwhile, Jeremy Seewer, 91 on the Suzuki, found his way back onto the rear wheel of Julian Lieber, and in turn they were both catching the number 99 Monster Energy DRT Kawasaki, Max Anstey, first race back from injury. And that was going to be a 3-way battle for third position. Jonas, though, was comfortable in second, never in danger of being caught by Anstey, Lieber or Seewer. But Seewer was pushing onto the rear wheel of the 33 of Julian Lieber. Covington, who'd found a way past Valentin Guillot, number 92, on the standing construct Yamaha Yamalube mounted effort, was looking good in 6th place, but he would eventually get caught 3 laps to go and pushed back into 7th by the time the checkered flag fell. But Anstey was really coming under pressure in the closing stages from Lieber, number 33. Mistake here from Anstey, almost let in Lieber, but Anstey was strong. He held his nerve, held his line, and rode out the wave section, but it was a win for Ferrandis. Jonas was second, Anstey was third, and Lieber fourth, with Siwa fifth. Well, Lisa Leyland is down on the grid. She's getting ready to talk to Jeffrey Herlings.
So that's what happened in the first MX2 race, and we saw the incident involving Jeffrey Herlings. Jeffrey, what happened?
I mean, I got attacked from the back this time, you know. I think it was in third or fourth, and, you know, somebody in front of me, I don't know exactly who it was, and he crossed over a bit, so I closed the gas, and obviously I jumped pretty high, and somebody, I don't exactly even know who, hit me from the back, and, you know, once I wanted to get up, and I felt pretty good, so, but then I see my bike, and my handlebar was broken, my gas cable was broken. You know, the bike was not capable of running anymore, so I had to pull out, but, you know, we set the bike straight again, and hopefully have some more luck this time. Having some pain on my bad leg again, you know, I had a pretty big hit on that one, but we'll try to go out, have fun, and stay safe.
We saw you clutching your wrist as well as you came off the bike. Is everything okay there?
Yeah, it's all right. I had a little issue there this week, but, you know, mainly it's now my leg, which hurts pretty bad, but, you know, no pain, no gain, so try to do our best, and it's only 35 minutes, just, as I said, just hope to stay safe and get through the first few laps.
Dylan now has the championship lead. Is that something you're worried about at this stage?
I mean, you know, it's racing and things like that can happen. You know, it can happen to him as well, this moto or next moto or whenever. So it's racing and stuff like this happens. So obviously he has a 3-point lead now, but, you know, it's last year with my buddy Jordi Tixier, which unfortunately is not here. I run the red plate during the whole season, and then obviously he took it the last round away from me. So it counts who has it the last, and as I said, shame Jordi's not here, and I want to say hi to him, and yeah, try to do our best this moto.
Well, it's nice to see you still smiling, Jeffrey.
Yeah, we do our best. We keep smiling.
Good luck, thank you. Time now to take a look at the MX2 starting list.
Recordemos que el Mundial ya pasó por Qatar, por Tailandia. Ahora por Argentina.
Here's how the riders line up then. Jeffrey Herlings, of course, from his win in the qualifying race yesterday, but as you just heard and saw the replay from his crash, which we didn't see in the highlights, he was very lucky to get away from it. And Adam Wheeler, ontrackoffroad.com, joins me now. You have maybe more of an understanding as to why that crash happened.
Yeah, hi Paul. Well, basically on the first lap, you know, the riders too close together on the first jump. Herlings kind of like pulled up a little bit, and Paul Jonas, actually, his teammate, scrubbed it and just nudged him, nudged his rear wheel, and that sent him flying. So the bike was pretty much bent up, you know, the bars were out of shape, and he's just, like we've seen there, he's just clipped his left heel. So, you know, terrible for Jeffrey, but, you know, for the first MX2 moto of the year, that we had a pretty much I don't know, a scenario, an unknown scenario, didn't we? You know, Dylan Ferrandis and Paul Jonas having a fantastic battle.
Well, yeah, and we're looking at Dylan Ferrandis now on the number 4 Monster Energy Kawasaki. Of course, he was the winner of race 1. He's had 2 third overall finishes this season in Qatar and Thailand, and obviously that was the first race win for anybody other than the 84 there, Jeffrey Herlings.
It's also worth pointing out just before we start that we're very likely to see a first-time Grand Prix winner here this weekend
we are.
in the MX2 class. It could be Paul Jonas or Dylan Ferrandis, favourites from the first moto due to the points tally so far. But Paul, you know, since the beginning of 2013, more than 2 seasons, I think we've had maybe 4, 5 maximum different winners in the MX2 class. So we're going to have another one today. That's going to be pretty cool.
Well, the track is holding up. We had a little bit of rain during the first of the MXGP races, but as we pan across the start line, there is Adam at 8:11, Adam Sterry. He got a rocketing start in that first race, was just there behind the 91 of Jeremy Siwa. And
sorry, Paul, cut across you 172. We just saw Brent Van Donnick. He's making his Grand Prix debut at 9th position. That's a pretty good finish. I don't remember anybody with a debut getting such a high result for quite a while.
No,
Paul Jonas, in fact, perhaps.
Yeah, Paul Jonas, obviously this year, but Paul Jonas, who was 3rd in the championship before we came here, and 9th, and a couple of 4th to 2nd, and obviously another 2nd. But the Tag Heuer 15-second board goes up. We're getting ready to go racing here once again. This second and final race of the day, MX2 Grand Prix of Patagonia, Argentina. Jeffrey Herlings starting in the first gate, which is where he started in the first race. Just got a little bit of wheel spin, but he'll be more keen to get away this time, and he does get a good jump. So heading down into turn 1, Jeffrey Herlings, has he been squeezed? Yeah, he's squeezed to the inside.
Oh, Sewer almost getting pitched out of the Suzuki saddle there.
And the journalist running wild, but it's Tonkov who comes out in front. Is that Jonas there in 2nd, Covington possibly in 3rd, or maybe even Ferrandis. It's Covington in 3rd place. Ferrandis, sorry. No, it's Covington.
No, it's Covington, yeah. And then
So
one of the
number 64.
KTMs, Sewer on the factory Suzuki there in 4th place as well. One of the Yamahas at the back there, Paul. That's either Lieber or it might be Valentin Guillot.
Yeah, so Herlings leading the way, actually. So he did find a way. He did tiptoe his way around the outside, nice. But it's getting very, very bumpy in this part of the racetrack into the wave section. This is where Herlings crashed in the first race. At the end there, just on the takeoff of the jump, but all safe and sound through there. But look at the braking bumps on the downside of that tabletop. That'll only chop out as the day goes on. Don't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 near misses.
Oh,
but
Sterry off the track.
Yeah, Sterry 811 on the Wilvo 4th rank KTM, who is in, 10th position as he came over the first split. But Herlings from Jonas, from Tonkov, they're your first 3. Then Thomas Covington in 4th. Then it was Sewer in 5th. Guillot's also up there having a good start on the first of the blue Yamahas. He's in 6th position.
And Ferrandis around the outside.
Yeah, Ferrandis looking to make a move there, and he gets his way into, 4th place now, going after his younger teammate Thomas Covington. And of course, don't forget the 41 who's just dropped out of the shot there, and the number 4, they're the guys that are potentially going to be looking at the overall Grand Prix victory as it stands at the moment. Covington can't be ruled out of a podium finish at this stage of the race. A 7th in race 1 and looking at 3rd at the moment, but his teammate right there all over the back of him.
I mean, Ferrandis is going as hard as he can to recover ground, Paul, but he's really got to keep an eye on that 41 KTM. Like you say, that's got to be the main threat for his first Grand Prix overall here today. 2
teammates there, Monster Energy Kawasaki. Ferrandis looking to lean on Covington, who, does he let him through in the end? Yes, he does. So over the line then, Herlings from Jonas, Tonkov in 3rd, Sewer in 4th, but not much longer because the number 4 of Ferrandis going through, and there's no sign of Anstey. Anstey was stuck on the start line, we're told, and has only just rejoined the race. So Max Anstey, who was 3rd in race 1, obviously rejoining the race a lap down, and not what the Brit wanted.
No, we saw somebody kicking in the gate. We couldn't quite see who it was, but I like some of the lines Sewer had in the first moto around this section, Paul. It was pretty smooth, you know, just using a lot of the track and quite effective.
Guillot's on the move on the Yamaha. He's up the inside of Covington and going around the outside of his fellow countryman, the Swiss, number 91 on the Suzuki. So Jeremy Sewer doing his best to hang on there, but it's early stages in this race. The 2 Red Bull KTMs leading the way once again, just like they did in Thailand, and Lieber's down.
The front of that bike's pretty smashed up, Paul. Looks like he's gone out.
Yeah, I mean, that is a second-hand Yamaha. He'll try and get on it if he can, but it's completely, handlebars are twisted.
He's not going to go anywhere with that, is he?
No.
4th place in the first moto. That was a shame. Outside chance, well, a good chance of the podium.
2 big crashes in 2 weekends now for Julian Lieber, and yeah, that's going to be another retirement for him. Remember, he had that big crash where he ejects himself out of the front door in, that is coming over the finish line jump.
Because that's at the beginning of the waves, isn't it?
That's just over...
It's just
possibly,
yeah.
Maybe
he's
the
gone down in the
back.
waves.
Maybe the Dragon's back all the waves, yeah, as you say, because of the Jervis banner.
Well, that's where riders have been struggling for traction this weekend. We saw Jeremy Van Horbig in the first MX1 moto, MXGP, beg your pardon, come off and stuck there. There's Anstey, number 99.
And obviously already a lap down, as we just said, but rejoins the race as best he can. He'll try and keep going and try and pick up some points if he can, because... well, you never know, dear. 1 World Championship point might be all right. But Herlings, Jonas, Ferrandis, fastest man on track, a 150.1. That's 8/10 quicker than Herlings, our race leader. Tonkov is 4th, Sewer is 5th, Covington 6th, Paturel is 7th, Geiser 8th, Borgers 9th, Ivo Monticelli, who didn't score in the first race, is in 10th. Van Donnick, who had a good debut ride in the first race, is in 11th, ahead of Adam Sterry, just outside the top 10 once again. Ben Watson is 13th. Robert Just, Seba Brulyakov, Anton Lundgren, Jens Getterman, Petrov, Golovkin, and Volant are your top 20 riders. Oh! Ferrandis lays it down, picks it up, and keeps it going. Almost over the handlebars, he picked it up.
Just try to square that corner off, Paul. Lost the traction again. I mean, I've seen half a dozen crashes like that already today so far. You know, and many riders just commenting on the state of this track and how, you know, there's a lot of square edge bumps and it's very hard underneath, and finding traction is at a premium. The guys who are typically fast in the sand are not really finding it today.
Well, we're just hearing as well that Guillot is out of the race as well, so both of the standing construct Yamalu riders are out. Is this one? Oh no, this is Ferrandis. Just got in there. Did he lose the front? Yeah, he got a kick on the back.
Yeah.
He was going to go high and wide, just laid it down. Tonkov goes by, so too does the lap Anstey, Sewer, and Covington.
So it wasn't squaring it, just like they say, got to hit a bump and that was it.
And Paturel rejoined in front of him as well, and I think Geiser didn't. Yeah, Geiser's having an off weekend this weekend. Wasn't good in time training yesterday, wasn't good in the qualifying, had an off first race, and not good for the Honda rider.
This season hasn't started really so far, has it, for Tim Geiser? There's Ferrandis coming back through. I wonder what happened to Guillaume then, Paul, because he was pushing up to get into the top 3, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Well, obviously, unless we get some kind of images down there, but obviously hearing from pit lane that Guillaume was in, so whether it's an off. But anyway,
it's interesting that his teammate Julian Lieber. Oh, there's
and Jeffrey Herlings did make a good start. Yeah, Guillaume was on the gate there, wasn't he? Possibly.
It looked like Anstey might have even hit the gate.
Yeah, well, I think both of them did, possibly. So.
It's interesting that Julian Lieber, you know, Guillaume's teammate, there's Anstey. He was kicking. It was him.
Frantically. Right, but there was a Yamaha in there as well, and I think that might have been Guillaume, and he might have just thrown in the towel. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. But Anstey just looking back, because he knew the leaders were close to coming round to lapping him at that point. So good thought of mine to sort of know that was the case. But Jeffrey Herlings, though, Adam, 150.0. And Steve Dixon talking to him. Is he heading back out on track, or is he?
I think it's a case of, you know, don't give up. I mean, this is still Max's second moto of the year.
Yeah.
Big crash was in the first. No, second one in Qatar. So, you know, he got injured there with that foot and shoulder problem. So, you know, perhaps needing some race time.
Well, Herlings in qualifying yesterday was just on a different planet, wasn't he, to everybody else? It looked like a training ride for him. But while the speculators out there were considering, you know, saying that actually, yeah, the undefeated season is on, straight away gets a love tap from his teammate, as it turns out, and goes out spectacularly in race 1. No points, no result, and as a result he's lost the championship lead, which he'll regain incidentally if he stays where he is. But obviously Dylan Ferrandis on the charge. He's past Thomas Covington now into 5th place. So the two Monster Energy machines there in 5th and 6th, chasing down this guy, 91, Jeremy Seward.
Well, more than even on the first lap now, Ferrandis has got to keep an eye on Jonas for 41, because the Latvian, after finishing 2nd in the first moto, if he does the same again here, Paul, with a significant amount of distance ahead of Ferrandis, then he's going to get his first overall win in his first season as a factory rider. Yeah.
Well, Jonas at the moment would be on 44 points, 2 second-place finishes for him. Obviously, second in the first one behind Ferrandis, and at the moment behind his teammate Jeffrey Herlings in the second race. Dylan Ferrandis would be on a 25. He'll be on 40 because currently on 15 points for that 6th place that he currently resides in at the moment. But you would expect him to find a way past number 91, Jeremy Seward. Well, actually, I mean, you would expect, because he's caught him, not being disrespectful to Seward. Seward's having a great ride as well this year, but it's just a case of catching him and then finding a way past, isn't it?
Yeah, and still liking the outside line. This is where he crashed earlier on, so he's going to hit the same bump in a moment. Cuts a little bit more to the inside, but...
Yeah. Well, obviously, Ferrandis then looking at using different lines, different option through the Dragon's back, and Seward just messing it up, and that's allowed Ferrandis in, who gets a little bit squirrely himself, but he'll take that invite all day long and slots neatly up into 4th position now. Buries that.
And Seward just a little bit too long there, Paul. Just lost the drive, didn't he? Couldn't get it turned on the gas quick enough, and that allowed the Kawasaki to move up to 4th now.
So what's the gap then between Tonkov and Dylan Ferrandis? Only a couple of seconds, actually, as it turns out. So over the other side of this jump, possibly. But Thomas Covington having a good old ride there as well in 6th position. Geiser, best ride of the weekend for him so far in 7th. Burgers is 8th. And Donick now up to 9th. Sterry up into 10th. Monticelli, Watson, just Brilyakov. Getterman's your top 15 with Petrov, Lundgren, Pacharel, who we hear has just come into the pits as well, and Herbetro and Golovkin.
Well, there were 4 Yamahas in the top 9 in the first moto, Paul, and 3 of them have gone out so far. So that's a real contrast of motos. But Brett Van Donick, we mentioned earlier, the Belgian having a good rider, first Grand Prix and 7th overall at the moment. And Adam Sterry as well. I mean, if he can get a top 10 finish in his first Grand Prix, then that's a hell of an achievement. Here's Tim Geiger, a little bit of a mystery. Asked Honda what was going on with him. Just couldn't get going with the track yesterday. But, you know, we expected more from the Slovenian, haven't we?
Well, we did, because at the start of the year, he was one of the favourites, 4th and 7th at the opening round. 3rd in race 1 in Thailand, but obviously heat exhaustion ruled him out, as it did Jeremy Seward with the crash, and Jordi Tixier, who also crashed and subsequently as a result of his fine and ban from the FIM, will not be here, was not here this weekend, and will lose further ground in the championship chase. Championship over, you would have to say, for Jordi Tixier in that respect, challenging for the title.
Double, you know, DNS is quite a hefty weight to come back, especially if Jeffrey Herlings is going to be picking up 25, you know, 20, 22, 25 points every moto. I mean, the Dutchman's now 3.5 seconds ahead of his teammate. We haven't seen much of Tonkov, have we, in 3rd place? He's just gone out of the picture as we look at Dylan Ferrandis. But Jeremy Seward, who Ferrandis has just passed, Paul, he's on for a first ever podium. He's third overall at the moment, so he's got to keep an eye on Tonkov, who's his nearest threat, just 1 point in it.
Yeah. Well, if Ferrandis does find a way past Tonkov, then obviously that pulls Seewer off of the podium. But looking at the podium at the moment as it stands, Pauls Jonas, Dylan Ferrandis, Jeremy Seewer.
Ferrandis needs that position, doesn't he?
He does.
And Tonkov needs that position if he wants to knock Seewer off. So we're going to have a bit of an interesting kind of dynamic going on in this race, you know, as we get down to the last 5-10 minutes.
Ferrandis then 8.4 seconds down on Herlings. That puts him about 5 seconds down on Pauls Jonas. The first race, incidentally, was won by Ferrandis by a margin of 7.3 seconds, and he didn't find a way through into the lead until lap 5. So this guy here, Dylan Ferrandis on the Monster Energy Kawasaki, will not rule out possibly closing down Tonkov for the pass, and even Pauls Jonas, which will determine the overall Grand Prix. Dylan Ferrandis then, just under 19 minutes plus 2 laps to go. He's got his head down. He's got Tonkov just ahead of him on the Wilbona-Stan factory Husqvarna. And in terms of lap times, a 150.7 and a 150.8 last time around. So only a 10th in it in Ferrandis' favour. But we know how hard this guy can ride, 59 Alex Tonkov. When he's there and he's in with a shout of a podium, Adam Wheeler, he doesn't give up to anybody, does he? And he's one of those riders, if he's intent, he's happy just to cruise around there sometimes and not really put in that, you know, that hard push, depending on the ground, the conditions, like we probably saw in race 1, you know, where he ended up dropping down from 8th position to 10th. But you put him in a situation like this, and the Russian will fight his corner right to the very end.
Also, it's only the 6th motor of the season, but we haven't really seen him start at the front, run laps with the leaders so far after Qatar and Thailand. 3rd race of the year just here in Argentina. And you know, also a thing to remember with Tonkov, it took him a while to get over that 3rd-degree arm burn that he sustained in Mexico at the last Grand Prix of the year when he got his limb stuck in the rear wheel joining Tixier's KTM.
Just looking ahead in that right-hander as Tonkov was going in through the waves. Jonas is not that far ahead, just at the end of the rhythm section here, so straight away Dylan Ferrandis will see Jonas there and Tonkov as he comes out of turn 12 through this series of bomb holes here. He will be able to clear.
Oh, Tonkov, little mistake, just pitched up, and that's given Ferrandis a second.
And obviously that whole straight is the difference between Jonas and Ferrandis. So Ferrandis then, he's definitely got the bit between his teeth now. He will be right on the rear wheel, honing in on that Husqvarna at the end of the start straight here into turn 1. And Tonkov now looking a little bit rattled. He's made that mistake. He knows that Ferrandis is closing in. And through the second turn, he takes a high, wide sweep up on the pegs, let the suspension do all the work. Just watch this again. Just drops in. Desau did something similar in the first race in MXGP.
Again, just the back end, losing traction, Paul.
Yeah, the rider's just saying about the ground and how hard and slick it is underneath him in some cases. But Tonkov now, he'll be making that Husqvarna very, very wide indeed for as long as he can, just to stop the number 4 of Dylan Ferrandis coming by him, because obviously Ferrandis knows he has to pass Pauls Jonas.
Just looking at the lap times, I mean, Tonkov, taking that mistake into account, just, you know, dropped off by almost 2 seconds on that last one. I mean, Jeremy Seewer as well is going to be looking at that.
We'll just give you a quick rundown then with 16 plus 2 to go. Herlings is 3.6 seconds clear of his teammate Pauls Jonas. This is the battle for 3rd place. The 59 of Alexander Tonkov on the Husqvarna and the Kawasaki there. The number 4 of Dylan Ferrandis. Jeremy Seewer on the 91. The yellow Suzuki is in 5th. Thomas Covington is in 6th. Tim Geiser on the Honda is 7th. The KTM of Brian Borges is 8th. And the Yamaha of Brent Van Dunnik is 9th, ahead of the Marchetti Racing KTM of Monticelli in 10th place. As the back end on that Kawasaki of Dylan Ferrandis gets loose, but he's going to get good drive coming out of this inside.
Very expressive rider, isn't he, Ferrandis? Not the tidiest, but it's always, you know, good to watch. I mean, you can see who's really going for it.
Double his way into turn 11, and Tonkov obviously recovering well from that mistake. He hasn't buckled under the pressure. That was where he made the mistake a lap ago, but Ferrandis is going to try and get the run on him down the straight into that 180 right. And as they come out of there, the sun starts to come out as well. It's a little bit low this time of the afternoon. Good drive out of there for Ferrandis. Nice and low as well. Tonkov is going to go right across the track. Try and put the squeeze on the Frenchman, who will then go wide and square off himself, will he? He might cut back to the inside here, coming through. And
Ferrandis, so lucky.
I wonder as he caught his foot on the handlebar there as he went through, and I hope he hasn't got a bent gear lever there, Dylan Ferrandis, because that will definitely hamper him. So Tonkov,
He's looked a bit ragged, hasn't he, Tonkov, over the last lap or two? There's been 1 or 2 moments where that bike has just been stepping out.
well, we need to keep an eye on what is going on then with Dylan Ferrandis and that left side of his Kawasaki.
Oh, guys, just making a move up.
And yeah, because Tonkov obviously rattled then after being down on the deck, and the back end getting a little bit loose on him once more. So just needs to breathe and regroup again, does the Russian. And as a result of that, Thomas Covington has gone through. Just watch this here. He just comes through, gets a back end kick. Ferrandis does well. Look at that, rodeo cowboy down, looking not to do his knee there. Yeah, oh, it's his boot actually. Did it knock him into neutral? I don't think he hit the gear lever there. Very, very lucky.
There's major evasive action there. That could be that's the Grand Prix winning moment at that point.
So where is Jonas now? Well, Jeffrey Herlings has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:49.5 on lap 7. We are now on lap 8. Brent Van Donnick is in. So the rider who was just sitting outside of the top 10 on the Kemiya Yamaha Yamaloop, and the mechanics looking down and saying, nope.
Is that a disc, something wrong there?
Disc or spokes possibly, or maybe a rim. So disappointment then for Brent Van Donnick. There's Jonas, right, he's getting ready to come over the line now. He's 7.3 seconds down on his teammate. Tonkov no longer in third because it's Dylan Ferrandis, and he's only 4 seconds back now. And a 52.2 and a 52.6, even only 4/10 in it, with Ferrandis getting hooked up to the handlebar there of Alexander Tonkov. So I would think, and I would suggest, that Ferrandis is probably the stronger, the fitter of these two coming into the second half of this second race, Adam.
And more experienced.
Yeah.
And, Ferrandis, as a Grand Prix rider, Paul, have you done your sums by this stage in the race? Because Ferrandis, as we come across the finish line and the standings have reset, you can see there, at one point he's going to take his first Grand Prix win. So now is he just going to think, right, okay, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to, make a steady lap time, I'm just going to see what happens with Jonas, or is he going to charge after him?
Well, Ferrandis is one of those who wears his heart on his sleeve. He is, very French in that respect. It's all or nothing with him, isn't it? And he will go out there, and that was probably a result of him making that mistake earlier as well on the second or third lap when he was in that. Okay, he was pushing, but the back end just stepped out. It was happening on this track quite a lot now, so it's not necessarily reflective of him riding overly hard at that moment in the race, but he was pushing probably considerably just to get onto the rear wheel because he was not well placed at that time, and he knew the KTMs were ahead of him. This guy here, he knows. I think from Ferrandis' point of view, it's just a case of if I beat Jonas in this race, then I'm going to win the GP, and that's all that will be going through his mind. I don't think he'll be doing the calculations. He'll just know that he needs to beat him in this race. Otherwise, that's it.
A bit risky though. I mean, the lap times are quite similar if he has to charge and
but that
shut
lap
down
time
that
that we're looking at there, 4/10 in it, was only as a result of him catching the wayward Husqvarna.
But we're also in the back markers as well, so I'd say it's risky for Dylan Ferrandis to try and push.
But he's got no
he's
choice.
been pushing hard.
If he wants to win the GP, he has to push on, and Jonas knows that. KTM and Kawasaki mechanics down there in pit lane, they all know that. But as
he's got the overall pool, he can sit there. I mean, Jeremy Suo is 10 points adrift in this overall Grand Prix, so why does Ferrandis have to take any more risks? He's done what he needs to do. A win and third place is going to be better than 2-2 for Jonas. So.
Well, I think as well, he can't really relax, can he? Because at the end of the day, Herlings is there, Jonas is second. Ferrandis, who, as you said, is going to win the Grand Prix, 45 points to 44 of Jonas. But Jeremy Suo, he can't afford to relax because he hasn't got that much ground over him. And if he does switch off and ride all conservative, before he knows it, he's going to get Suo, possibly Geiser, maybe even Covington, just closing in. And he doesn't want that scenario either, so he has to maintain his focus.
Talk about Thomas Covington for a moment. Good ride. The American's getting better, isn't he? Better starts. He came into the weekend with some stomach problems, wasn't feeling very well. Yeah,
talking to his dad Mitch yesterday, and he said that was the case, but obviously sorted himself out before the qualifying race, and hopefully he's okay. But
after a season of mistakes, crashes, learning in 2014, he's just getting that consistency going. It's pulling him up the championship, and he's fourth at the moment in the standings. So, for essentially a rookie, a teenager in his second Grand Prix year, that's pretty good going. Compared to someone like Alex Tonkov there, 59, who's just continually fighting to find some fitness and some health, and make his results count.
Thomas Covington, just under 10 minutes plus 2 laps to go. He's got the Russian Now behind him, Alexander Tonkov. He's just found a way through just a moment ago, and Tonkov, interesting to see if he can regroup, Adam, because you know, it was a silly little mistake, a couple of little errors here and there while Ferrandis was breathing down his neck, but he looks to have regrouped here and looks to be challenging Thomas Covington now as he almost gets unseated coming over that crest as well. So Tonkov, one of those riders who, again, another one who wears his heart on his sleeve. It's kind of when he's in the moment, doesn't really take any prisoners, does he?
The rush of the blood to the head cliche, very apt in his case. Again, still so young, very fast and promising, but we just haven't seen the consistency from him yet. Second year as a factory rider with Husqvarna, so this season, you know, there is a little bit of a feeling that he has to deliver something. Covington, just wonder if he might be struggling a little bit more with fatigue, you know, a case of losing strength thanks to that illness coming into the weekend. Yeah, but he's had a good winter. He's worked hard. He's been riding with Ryan Villapoto and Tyler Rattray, but he's just drifted too wide here. Tonkov, well, he'll just nudge him aside and put the squeeze on him. Just messes them both up through the Dragon's back, but Covington will try and get the slingshot through the wave section here. But they are wider on that right-hand side, so you've got a little bit more distance to clear than if you're on the left-hand side. But not many people using that outside line that Covington took. A lot of people like kind of, you know, going central or sticking to the inside.
I think it just depends if you're leaving the door wide open. But Covington up on the pegs there. It's almost like you can see from the body language there that didn't want to get involved. We knew that Tonkov was there and possibly lining him up for a pass, but you can see how hard he was on the brake, so because Tonkov, say, not taking any prisoners at that moment.
Didn't leave him much room, did he?
So Tonkov back through then, putting the American back into 7th place. Just under 8 minutes plus 2 laps to go. MX2 race to the MX2 Grand Prix of Patagonia, Argentina. Jeffrey Herlings is your race leader after a DNF in race 1. He has a 9.4 second advantage over Pauls Jonas in what is a Red Bull KTM Factory Racing 1-2. Here is Jeffrey Herlings coming into turn 3 over those floating jumps. But Dylan Ferrandis, though, in 3rd place, about, 3 seconds adrift of the Latvian, Pauls Jonas, is in pole position in terms of the overall Grand Prix classification at the moment, because a win and what would be a 3rd if he stays where he is will see the Frenchman on 45 and a possible first career Grand Prix victory in MX2. Pauls Jonas with 2 seconds would pick up 44 points, 22 for each second place finish, and Jeremy Seewer at the moment would also get himself on the podium. Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe, what is going to be a look at it this way, Adam.
My studio show prediction now.
A career podium first for Dylan Ferrandis. Actually, Pauls Jonas was on the podium in Thailand, wasn't he? But Jeremy Seewer certainly. So 2 of those 3 guys, yeah. But Jeffrey Herlings, though, getting his head down, just like he did in the qualifying race, and just like we assumed he would have done in the first race had it not been for that spectacular crash.
And he's obviously hurting a little bit with his left heel, Paul, but just, you know, if you watch his style for a moment, you know, feet up, pegs on the pegs, you know, driving the bike into the ground, a lot of like leg strength. The way he rides the sand is, you know, I've written it many times, is something every motorcycle racing fan should come and have a look at. Valkenswaard, you know, 2 rounds time we're going to be in the Netherlands, and that's pretty much his playground.
It's not real sand, is it? It's
a little bit shaly,
but it's very, very similar, though.
Yeah, when we get to Holland, and you know, when we get to Le Mans for the Belgian Grand Prix, then that's where he really comes into his element. Already such an accomplished rider, double world champion, of course, but you know, there's something that's a little bit soft like this, and Herlings has shown he's pretty much unbeatable in any conditions over the last 2 or 3 years.
But where he really scores, I just watched him come through the first corner there. He finds a line, he gets in it, and he very, very rarely spins out of control or asks too much of the rear wheel, you know, with a handful of gas. It's always very controlled, but very aggressive and very, very precise at the same time. You know, guys that are always chasing him down, they're hitting stuff, banging on, you know, bashing through berms and that kind of thing. Whereas he, I don't know, it's just the way that he has that bike set up, particularly at the rear end, it helps him massively.
So can I mention my studio show prediction again of Jeremy Seewer again on the podium at some point soon?
Yes, you did, yes.
Thanks very much.
You can mention that again.
And also, you know, another example of the Swiss Renaissance in Grand Prix. We've had Valentin Guillaume on the podium. We've had Arno Tonas last year winning his first Grand Prix, and now Jeremy Seewer, if he can stay on 2 wheels, is going to take his first podium. Also the first one for the Suzuki guys this year. So
how far have we got to go? 4:56, so 5 minutes plus 2 laps. Jeremy Seewer here, who is in 4th 4th position in the race, looking at the career first podium, 3rd overall here in Argentina. I wonder if the mechanics are telling him out there on pit lane, you know, probably don't want to put him under too much pressure, I would have thought, but you know, a 16 and an 18 score, he's probably got to think that maybe there's a chance. But look at this here. Ferrandis all over the back of Paul Jonas now, so he is going to close him down, and he wants to put a the back end getting a little bit of a pitch there. Whoa, he hit a square edge bump right on the top of that first wave, and if there was ever a warning sign there for Dylan Ferrandis, well, that was it, and just losing both wheels as he slid into that right-hander as well. So just a reminder of how hard Dylan Ferrandis is pushing here. He doesn't want to win it with a 3rd.
And over a second faster on that previous lap for Dylan Ferrandis. So like you say, still pushing. You called it right earlier on. He's not slacked off. But then again, it would be incredibly stupid if he dumps this and loses the overall. Yeah,
but I think this kind of track lends itself to the fact that you need to just keep pushing, you know, to a certain level, because otherwise you do switch off, it will catch you out equally as if you're pushing overly hard. Look at this down the inside of Jonas. He's going to square him off through the outside here. This is what he was trying to do to Tonkov earlier on in the race, but no, he's going to go high and wide.
Yeah, but look how many riders have just like given it a handful of gas. The back end's broken out and they're down on the floor. Just, I mean, he's riding with some confidence this weekend for Ferrandis. That
is such a stretch to get over that. I was expecting the 250s even to get over there a little bit longer, but he's going to go. This is where he crashed early on in the race. Jonas knows he's there, but he's managed to squeeze him to the inside.
What's Jonas going to do?
Nothing. He knows it is also going to be on a podium. But obviously an easy pass in the end then for Dylan Ferrandis. So Ferrandis now goes 2nd. He splits the 2 Red Bull KTMs on his Monster Energy Kawasaki. Just needs to maintain his focus now, though. 3 minutes plus 2 to go. Herlings leads. Ferrandis now 2nd. Jonas 3rd. Siwa still there in 4th. Geiser is in 5th place. Alexander Tonkov, Geiser on the Honda Garibaldi machine, having a very quiet weekend this weekend. Even though he's in 5th, he is 25 seconds off the lead of Jeffrey Herlings, which is not where he would have expected to be. Tonkov is 6th. Covington is 7th. Borg is 8th. Monticelli 9th. And Jens Getterman is 10th. Adam Sterry still there in the points in 10th position, 11th position, sorry, and that will be good enough for 8th overall in his first MX2 Grand Prix.
I think we'll have to come across the finish line and let the standings refresh again, Paul, but that puts Dylan Ferrandis 2 more points, and him and Jeffrey Herlings joint tied in the World Championship. Herlings, you know, if he keeps going the way he is, has won 5 out of 6 motos, but it just goes to show, you know, the futility of counting championship points, you know, so early on. Both tied on 125. That's pretty incredible after Herlings' domination so far.
Well, when you just before you walked in, obviously you came in at the end of the pit, the pre-grid interview that Lisa Leyland was carrying out with Jeffrey Herlings. She did ask the question, you know, are you bothered that Dylan Ferrandis is leading the championship? And he was, at the end of the day, he said no, because he knows what it's like to lead the championship and lose it in the final round when Tixier took it off him. So it's the one who has the red plate at the end of the year, and the championship lead at the end of the day is what at the end of the year is what counts. Here's a very quiet 2-4-3. Tim Geiser, Honda Garibaldi. He is in 5th position. He's only a couple of seconds off for Siwa, so Siwa cannot afford to relax. There he is on the Suzuki.
I don't know, Paul, I disagree. I think Geiser's not made a fluff of a start in this moto, and he's come through. He must have gained maybe 5 or 6 positions. Been riding pretty good. It's one of the best performances of the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, not taking anything away from him in terms of the performance, but this is not where he would expect to be. He was a contender after the performances at the end of last year, where he was on the podium and winning Grand Prix and that kind of thing. It's literally a case of winning races. He was, you know, a shoo-in almost to certainly be challenging Herlings and Ferrandis in the top 3.
I'm pretty sure the rider and HRC, you know, the Garibaldi squad would have expected a podium in the first 3 rounds. So in that respect, you're right.
He's all over the back of Siwa now. So this, in fact, even if he passes him, it's going to keep Siwa on the podium, because Covington is, what, 6 points adrift. So he can afford to lose 2 more points here if Geiser goes through. So it won't alter that fact.
Brian Borger's an 8th. That's going to be a personal best. GP highest finish. Riding European Championship last year. Over Monticelli in 9th. That also might be a
tied
personal
on points, actually, didn't it, with Stephen Clark, 2nd overall in the championship. Same points, and it went back on round wins, wasn't it? I think it was, or
yeah, it was a comeback. Downstanders Patarel went back out. Peter Petrov 12th. Ben Watson, bad luck yesterday in the qualification race. Engine problem meant he couldn't start, so he's been right on the outside of the gate. 38th place, I think he started.
Well, just looking down, we've got Juan Pablo Luzardi, the Argentine rider. At the moment, he is picking up a first World Championship point here. He's just behind Vakislav Golovkin, the Russian rider. But battle here between the 91 3 laps to go of Jeremy Seewer and Tim Geiser. Geiser is on the charge. He has closed down the number 91 of the Suzuki of Jeremy Seewer, Rockstar Energy Europe machine, favouring the outside line. It's a very fast sweep, but look how much time that Geiser saved off there by, you know, riding it through the inside. But here's Ferrandis. He is second in the race at the moment, 14.5 seconds down on Herlings, possibly thinking about backing it off now. 1:53 lap time to the 50.5 of Herlings. Jonas on a similar score, but maybe the mechanics are also encouraging Jonas just to sort of maybe put on a last lap spurt or two just to keep Ferrandis honest and maybe force him into making a mistake. Who knows?
CLS Monster Energy Kawasaki victory last year, Vano Tonis. Tommy Sell back in 2012. So third different rider in 3 years, not a bad record. Herlings not looking behind him, not really sort of toning it down. Maybe riding out a bit of frustration. He knows he could have he easily had the speed here, Paul, after yesterday to go 1-1 and continue like a perfect record, even though he makes no noises about being...
Ooh, Herlings just a little bit out of shape.
He's not talking about setting that kind of perfect score, that perfect season anymore, is he? But
no.
I think, you know, there's going to be insurmountable pressure for him to move to MXGP in 2016, move up a category, get on a 350 or a 450 with KTM. So this year, I think 100% the championship is the goal. Sign off as a 3 times title winner in the MX2 class.
So Herlings, a couple of laps to go then. Just picking past the back markers.
Well, you can see from the outside line there, but was it pretty risky taking that? I mean, you know, there's not really much of a berm there. It's pretty choppy in some places as well. There's not much margin for error, is there?
There isn't. As you know, like you can see there, it's just once if you get skatey out that sort of part of the racetrack, yeah, you're definitely going to be going over the barrier, and you're going to be going a lot quicker than you thought. But you can't take anything away from him, can you? He put himself in a difficult position early on when he went down. He's dug deep and he's chasing what would be his first career victory.
Well, I thought at one point he had blown it. I mean, if he needed 1 or 2 laps just to recover from that mistake and that crash, because we've seen Dylan Ferrandis in a position where he certainly could have taken a podium or a moto victory in the last season and a half, but then just mistakes or other riders hitting him in certain occasions have, you know, made him eat a soil sandwich.
Well,
To
this
the
will be
back
a good
marker
boost
still,
for it.
2 laps to go. Jonas 4 seconds behind Ferrandis. Pretty mature kind of display from the Latvian. He hasn't done anything too crazy apart from knock Jeffrey Herlings off on the first lap of the first moto. And mentored by Harry Everts instead of Stefan this weekend.
That is a difficult wave section as well.
But Ferrandis likes that, you know, perhaps the trickier part coming across on the left. Even in the MXGP moto, a lot of riders sticking towards the right. And Tony Cairoli in particular was so fast from this part.
Well, this would be, obviously, we've still got a lap to go here as he works his way towards the finish line. Jeffrey Herlings getting ready to come over the line now, unless he's already gone through, has he? Yes.
No, this is the finish.
Last lap? No, 1 lap to go. Herlings has just gone through.
First corner
But for Ferrandis, in this career Grand Prix milestone, so going back to what we were saying earlier, Dylan Ferrandis, obviously in terms of Grand Prix victories, KTM last year won all the Grand Prix bar 1, which was Brazil on Atonis, same team, which was, you know, CLS Monster Energy Kawasaki. Now it's Monster Energy Kawasaki Racing Team MX2, isn't it? And this will be their first, well, it was 3rd round last year in Brazil, it's 3rd round this year in Argentina, so almost a year.
French riders winning MX2. Jordi Tixier last year. Anybody else you can think of?
Tixier won 2 last year, didn't he? Mexico and Czech Republic.
Well, the last 4 that he needed to get the job done to win the title.
Yeah.
That was really where we saw Tixier.
Fevre was the other rider, wasn't he? Who won in Goiás. And
I wonder if Tixier perhaps would have tipped the odds here, you know, on the other CLS Kawasaki, the other Monster Energy Kawasaki here in the MX2 class ball. And Herlings coming around, he's got 3 corners now before the finish flag.
Max Anstey was the other rider last year, London.
Yeah, on the Yamaha.
Well, Jeffrey Herlings, after picking himself up off the deck in race 1, he said he was ready to continue to join the race, but his bike did take a bit of a battering as the handlebars and the tank and everything, the throttle cable was broken, busted to smithereens. He managed to get it back to the waiting zone into pit lane, but he was unable to continue. But he makes amends here. He gets off to a good start and he takes the checkered flag in race 2, but he will not win the overall Grand Prix here. He knows he's the fastest man on the planet. I'm sure he'll tell us that in some kind of interview a little bit later on. But Jeffrey Herlings wins race 2 by a considerable margin over this guy here, Dylan Ferrandis, Monster Energy Kawasaki. But it's the Frenchman, Dylan Ferrandis, who will take victory, his first ever Grand Prix win in MX2. He does it here, MX2 Grand Prix of Patagonia, Argentina. And he celebrates with the team immediately down there in pit lane. And it's the first win in about a year for the same team that took Argentina to victory round 3 in Brazil 2014. So Dylan Ferrandis then finally gets that elusive Grand Prix victory. And he is one happy chap. He said he had machine problems yesterday in the qualifying race, wasn't able to hook it up after the start, and he couldn't really perform how he wanted to, but they changed the engine, they worked on the bike, and it's paid off because Dylan Ferrandis, a race 1 winner and overall Grand Prix victor here in Argentina. There's Paul Jonas, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. He'll take 2nd overall with a 2nd and a 3rd, but Jeremy Seewer, do not take anything away from him. He came home in 5th on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe machine, and he takes his first podium as well. So Dylan Ferrandis with his first win, Jeremy Seewer with his first ever podium in MX2. With a brace of 5th place finishes, which, considering where he was 3 weekends ago at round 2, race 1 in Thailand, it's a pretty good effort for him. Max Anstey just rode around in the end and obviously didn't pick up any points after failing to get that bike started on the line. But Jeffrey Herlings, Dylan Ferrandis, Paul Jonas, your top 3. Tim Geiser got to 4th in the end, edging out Jeremy Seewer. Alexander Tonkov was 6th, Covington 7th, Burgos and Monticelli. Here we have the official confirmation then for the classification. So Ferrandis then, 47 points on the board for him, and wins his first ever Grand Prix in MX2. Jonas 2nd and Jeremy Seewer 3rd. Thomas Covington, back-to-back 4th place finishes now for the American on the Monster Energy Kawasaki. 4th overall in Thailand and now here in Argentina. So these flyaway races certainly favouring the young American. Tim Geiser, 5th overall. Alexander Tonkov was 6th. Jeffrey Herlings, a win and a DNF in Moto number 1 for 7th. Adam Sterry, 8th overall on the Wilvo Fort Rank KTM. In the points in 8th overall.
1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right, Lisa, all yours.
Dylan, congratulations, your first ever GP victory. This is going to be a moment that you're never going to forget, is it?
It's crazy. You know, I saw Jeffrey take the lead really early in the race, and I was so pushing hard for comeback. I was sure we can have a good battle and make a little crash. I said, oh, I can miss this win, and I pushed so hard. It's crazy. So a great moment for me and for all my crew, and it's crazy.
Smiles all round, well done.
Thank you.
So a jubilant Dylan Ferrandis then, victorious here in Argentina, and we'll see him on the podium alongside Paul Jonas and Jeremy Seewer a little later on. Dylan Ferrandis then victorious here. The MX2 Grand Prix, Patagonia, Argentina, on what has been an overcast weekend, or race day, I should say, because we have had sunny spells and warm conditions throughout the weekend. We had rain earlier in the first moto of MXGP and towards the end of the first race in MX2, but no chance of the rain in the second race. But Dylan Ferrandis, though, he wins the overall today. But Jeffrey Herlings maintains the red plate, the championship lead, but they're tied on points. Him and Dylan Ferrandis. Jonas is third now. One of the riders that would have lost out in points this weekend would have been, well, two riders actually from the same team, standing construct, Yamaha Yamalu, Julian Lieber and Valentin Guillot. Max Anstey, another rider who missed out on points in that second race. But we will be getting ready for the podium shortly. The fans who've been pretty enthusiastic all weekend here, they're going to be ready for MXGP a little later on. But here's our podium then, taking his position on the podium, the third step of the podium for the first time in his career. Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe, MX2, Jeremy Seewer. 2 fifth-place finishes for him. Paul Jonas, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, for the second Grand Prix in succession, will take second position. But it will not be Jeffrey Herlings this weekend. Instead, Monster Energy Kawasaki Racing Team, Dylan Ferrandis, with a win in race 1, a second in race 2, stands on the top step of the podium for the first time in his career. And so far this year, it's been 100% podium success for the Frenchman. Third in Qatar and Thailand, a win here this weekend. And this South American trip has been well worth it. Guillermo Hensel, president of the council board, handing the third place trophy to Jeremy Seewer. Sebastian Caldar handing the second place trophy to Pels Jonas. Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, but your overall winner, Dylan Ferrandis. Enrique Mayer, the National Ministry of Tourism, hands the Frenchman his first ever MX2 Grand Prix trophy on the top step of the podium. And he is one smiley young Frenchman, suddenly realizing his dream, standing on the top step of the podium. He shares the championship lead now with Jeffrey Herlings. Jeffrey Herlings, though, will continue to hold the red plate on race wins and the second race result as well today. And also he has 2 Grand Prix victories to Dylan Ferrandis is 1 now as well this year. So Herlings still the red plate holder. We will see him any moment now, I believe. Can't hear anything of what's going on down there, so if you can't at home, apologies to you guys as well. But Jeffrey Herlings, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, not on the podium after a DNF and a race win. But Jeffrey Herlings, though, will continue to maintain his lead and the red plate at the top of MX2 standings. Mr. Tony Skillington, FIM CMS Director, on hand to deliver the red plate to the Dutchman. One last photo for the journalists before the French national anthem for Dylan Ferrandis, who, as you see there, wins it by 5 points over Jonas Seewer, third overall this weekend in Argentina. The national anthem for France and Dylan Ferrandis. Monster Energy Kawasaki, though, winners
Ahí está el
in
aplauso
MX2 this weekend.
por el público argentino. Y si ganó un francés, ¿qué tiene que haber en el podio?
And it's the first win in about a year for the team that was formerly known as CLS Kawasaki. Monster Energy, it's now Monster Energy Kawasaki Racing Team MX2. Dylan Ferrandis picking up the first win since Onotonis in Brazil, round 3 last year, incidentally. Well, no national anthem for Kawasaki, but Dylan Ferrandis will get doused in champagne as a first-time winner, and I guess so too will Jeremy Siwa. First time on the podium for him, third overall for Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe. And Paul Jonas again on the podium, back-to-back now for him, two-time second for Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. Of course, we'll catch up with our winners in just a moment, but let's sit back and enjoy some of the best moments. Well, Dylan Ferrandis crossed the line, victorious in race 1 and second in race 2. Here's your overall winner. Here he is with Lisa Leyland.
A victory in MX2, it must be an amazing feeling. What's going through your mind at this exact moment?
I have no word for say what I live. It's crazy. The DGP was crazy. The track was really fun and was really special. The dirt and I have two races really amazing. In first was my first win of the season and now my first GP. So I'm so happy. I don't take a go start in second moto. I saw that Jeffrey was a leader, and I pushed so hard for comeback. I was sure that we can have a good battle, but I make a little crash. So I was, I think, 6th, and I say in my head, oh, now you have to fight for the win. And I pushed so hard for comeback to the second place, and I did it. It's so crazy. I can text now my team and all my crew, my suspension man, my bro, my trainer Bruno. Thanks everybody, and thanks for sure my boss Jacques Luzetti and all his family. It's crazy. My mom. Thank you very much to all the French fans, and we'll see for the next GP for fight again for the win.
Congratulations, thank you. Paul's 2 back-to-back podiums now in second. That must be amazing for you. Great feeling for this year so far.
Yeah, for sure, it's a great feeling, but yeah, feeling really sorry for Jeffrey because in the first race I touched his rear wheel in the air and yeah, he made a big crash. So yeah, feeling really sorry for him, but yeah, I'm really happy to be on the podium again, and yeah, I can't do it with my KTM Factory Racing team with Harry, Stefan Everett, and Willy Linden, my family, my manager, all my fans, all my supporters. Huge thanks to everyone.
Congratulations, Paul. Congratulations. First podium, Jeremy. Amazing feeling here at Patagonia, Argentina.
Yeah, it feels great. I did the whole shot in the first race. Had a good rhythm, finished 5th. Also, second race was pretty good. Yeah, 2 solid races, good speed. I finished on the podium. Maybe I was a little bit lucky that Herlings crashed out, but yeah, it's amazing. I can't thank my team enough, my whole family, all my supporters. And yeah, season goes on and I try to do it again.
Thank you, congratulations.
Well, we'll be back in just a moment with MXGP Race 2. Stay with us.
Aquí en el MXGP Patagonia, Argentina, se viene la definición del tercer capítulo del Season 2015.